This is from one of my favorite books. It's about the Italian artist, the painter, the great Caravaggio, and it's a biography basically of his life. I have not read the whole thing, but I tend to reread some of my preferred passages. And the full title of the book is Caravaggio, A Life Sacred and Profane, by this extraordinary writer called Andrew Graham Dixon. And I just thought I would read one of my favorite passages from the book, chapters, whatever. It's called In the Artist's Quarter. So keep in mind, we're just jumping in here, and it's going to tell you about Caravaggio's living conditions back then in Italy. Okay? Long time ago. Now 400 plus years ago. In the Artist's Quarter. And we start out right away talking about the Pope and the Catholic Church and how these things affected Caravaggio. So, like his immediate predecessors, the new Pope was determined both to stabilize the foundations of the Catholic Church and to reassert the Eternal City as the radiant center of Christendom. The beauty of Rome's churches must compel faith and crush heresy. That is why the city was filled with artists, painters, sculptors, and architects throughout Italy and further afield knew that there was more than enough work to go around in Rome. As Florence had been during the 15th century, and as Paris would be at the peak of Louis XIV's power, Rome under Clement VIII was the artistic capital of Europe. The artists of the city were so numerous, at a rough estimate, there were 2,000 of them out of Rome's total population of around 100,000, that they had their own quarter. This was an area of a little more than 2 square miles, situated roughly between the Piazza del Popolo and the Piazza di Spagna. Artists tended to arrive in groups, whether from Naples or Bologna, Lombardy or Emilia-Romagna, Flanders or France, and to board together to save money. It was not unusual for 2 or 3 to share a room, using the space both as bedroom and workshop. Rome could be stiflingly hot, which placed a premium on the lower, cooler floors of rental accommodation. But that suited the traditionally hard-up community of painters, who preferred the less expensive upper floors anyway, because there was more light there to paint by. They particularly favored houses backing onto the Pincio, the hill perched above the Piazza del Popolo. Different national groups of artists ran in gangs and swapped racial insults with their rivals. There were stereotypes to fit all. Germans were crude, the Flemish were drunks, and the French were violent thugs, hiding behind a veneer of fake refinement. The Italians themselves, according to the exiled English earl encountered in Rome by the hero of Thomas Nash's novel of 1594, The Unfortunate Traveler, were said to be addicted to the art of epicurising, the art of whoring, the art of poisoning, and the art of sodometry. An Englishman like Nash grouped all Italians together, but for them, the matter of national belonging was less clear-cut. Italians had some sense of communal identity, but an even sharper feeling for the distinctions that set them apart from one another. The Bolognese were known to hate the Tuscans, while most Romans treated Sicilians as if they were little better than peasants. Neapolitans were said to be obsessive about horsemanship. The Milanese, as we have seen, were famously keen swordsmen and naturally unruly. Although Lombards, as a group, were often stereotyped as sluggish and provincials, heavy of mind and body thanks to their rustic diet. In 1589, the writer Giovanni Botero went so far as to propose a north-south fissure in the Italian temperament. Those who live in northern countries, but not in the extreme north, are bold, but lack cunning. Southerners, on the other hand, are cunning, but not bold. They are as the lion and the fox, whereas the northerner is slow and consistent in his actions, cheerful and subject to Bacchus. The southerner is impetuous, volatile, melancholy, subject to Venus. The personality of Caravaggio would be hard to locate on this particular map. He does not fit either profile, and in fact, he would make his sense of his own singularity the subject of one of his earliest paintings, a self-portrait as Bacchus, but a Bacchus who is suffering and full of melancholy. So that was a reading from the book, The Gospel of Caravaggio. Ciao.